Welcome to an episode of Inner Work Guides, Alchemical Gnosis, Yoga of the West. I'm your host, John H. Reed III. Let's get to it. This is a series of interviews conducted by Perseus Arcane Academy back in September of 2024. They asked some questions and I recorded my responses, and I've turned them into a series of recordings for the podcast. Enjoy. This is recording number 4, Spagyric versus Alchemy. So, in the last recording, we discussed the fact that the Spagyric method is a manual method, and that there's a difference between plant alchemy, or just regular alchemy, and Spagyrics. And now we can begin to discern what that difference is. So, in this section, you ask Spagyric versus alchemy. You discuss the distinction between Spagyric and alchemy. How do you think this misunderstanding affects modern practitioners of alchemy? Alright, so as I mentioned above, Spagyric is simply a methodology applied to the matter being worked on, be it physical or psychological. And there is a maxim in Hermeticism that goes, everything alchemical is Spagyric, but not everything Spagyric is alchemical. And to understand the premise of alchemy, you need to understand the central ideas of Hermeticism. So, while Spagyric is a manual method, you need to apply that method within the understanding of these central ideas in Hermeticism in order to make it alchemical. And first thing is, there's only one mind. The universe is mental, all is mind. That's it. And this one mind knows itself completely. And no aspect of itself is hidden from itself, and thus it exists in a state of illumined self-knowledge and equilibrium. Everything we think, see, smell, taste, feel, indeed the entire universe is this one mind. There's no separation from it. There is no thing that is not it. And because the one mind knows itself completely, there is nothing inimical to it, and thus it is beneficent. The one mind, or the one, emanates adaptations of itself to present the varied experiences of existence, to experience itself and evolve. And in doing so, the experience of polarity is born. Because every adaptation of the one contains at its core, in a non-physical space, that complete illuminative self-knowledge and equilibrium of the one. Every adaptation contains what it needs to arrive at salvation, or better put, reconciliation. So, in this non-physical space of illuminative self-knowledge and equilibrium is the arcanum of the matter, which is the understanding and wisdom contained in that non-physical space. It's where it can be accessed. And so when you can access that arcanum, it will instruct you how to use those things contained within the matter to move forward so that you can move the arcanum forward into physical space, so that that illuminative self-knowledge and equilibrium of the matter is available physically, thus emanating what is called the matter's quintessence, or the 4 elements combined so equally that they make a fifth that's indissoluble. So in the alchemical work, the artist has to use only those things that are found within the matter and acquired during its normal life cycle. So for plants, as an example, something that it encounters in the course of its normal life cycle is yeast in the air. So the job of the alchemist is to apply the spagyric matter within the context of the alchemical practice and hermetic philosophy to bring about the death and rebirth of the matter into something that is beyond what nature could produce in such a short time. Transmutation, either physical or psychological, again, might be thought of as forced evolution. All right, so you have to do the spagyric method within that context. And now you ask me the question, can you provide an example of a spagyric process that highlights its differences from traditional alchemical methods? So again, let's take plants. That's the easiest. And the modern spagyricist believes that they can achieve the alchemical work using the familiar three essentials from a plant, which are ethanol for spirit, essential oil for the soul, and mineral salts for the herb. And those salts are obtained through calcination and leaching the ash, and that represents the essential of the body. So we have body, soul, and spirit, or body the salt, soul the essential oil, and spirit the ethanol. And while that's a good place, a good starting point for wrapping your mind around the spagyric concept, it's not alchemical. Even if you assign the various fractions you can obtain from working with a plant and give them assignations belonging to the elements, where some folk would use essential oil for the fire element, alcohol for the air element, vinegar for the water element, and the plant's fixed sulfur and body for the earth element, you are still not doing alchemy unless you know how to elicit each of these items philosophically from the matter. As I mentioned earlier, alchemy begins in death. And while ethanol is considered by some a vehicle for the essential of spirit, one is not bringing about the death of a plant by pouring sugar or grape juice into the mix with the herb. The fact is this: any plant with cellulose has sugar because that's what cellulose is. Long linear chains of D-glucose. It's just real dang hard to get at. So if you want to do alchemy on a plant and you're not going via the destructive distillation or pyrolysis route to produce solvents, what are you to do? This goes back to my definition of a philosopher, because every plant does indeed provide a means of breaking itself down, using only the material of the plant to accomplish the task. And when it's done properly, one can perform indigenous fermentations on herbs and get a potable alcohol equal to about a quarter, and in some cases half, of what one would expect from distilling wine. Okay, so what is it then to be philosophical? And that's what we're going to cover in the next recording. Thank you for listening to this episode of Inner Work Guides Alchemical Gnosis, Yoga of the West. Don't forget to follow or subscribe. Visit our website at www.innergarden.org for more information about Hermetic training in practical laboratory alchemy or inner work. Write to info@innergarden.org.